Problem number 10 says a spinner is divided into 8 equal sections. Laura spins the spinner 120 times and it lands on purple 30 times. How many more times does Laura need to spin the spinner and have it land on purple for the relative frequency to equal the theoretical probability? Well, first off, what does theoretical probability mean? Well, if we see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total spaces, so there's 8 options, how many of them are purple? Well, in this case, we see that there's 1, 2, 3 purples. So we would expect that for every time we spin the spinner, 3 out of the 8 times, or 3 out of the 8 sections, since they're purple, it would probably land on purple 3 out of every 8 times you spin it. So that's the theoretical probability. Well, they tell us that right now she's already spun the spinner 120 times, and we know that it's landed on purple 30 times. So this is the total spins that we've done so far, and this is how many purple we've had. So this is purple, and it's the same thing here. On the theoretical side, we know that 3 spots are purple, and there are 8 total. So right now, we can see that it's not quite exactly perfect, because 30 over 120 is equal to 0.25. So that means 25% of the time she spun it, it landed on purple. But when you do 3 over 8, it equals 0.375. So we know that her number is smaller than what the actual one should. So the question says, how many more times does she need to spin the spinner? So we're going to do this. We know that we're not sure how many more times she needs to spin it. She's already spun it 120 times, but we're going to have her spin it more. And if you don't know an exact number, that's why you use a variable. So 120 plus x, we don't know how many more times she needs to spin it. And then however many more times she needs to spin it, we also need to have more purples happen as well. So you're going to add x on the top because you need more purples, and on the bottom because you need to spin it more times. So in that case, we know that 30 plus x over 120 plus x, because we're going to spin it more, equals 3/8. This number never changes because you see that there's always 3 spaces are purple out of 8 total. So how do you solve this? Well, we're going to end up cross multiplying. So you take 3 times 120 plus x. So you put the 3 out front because it's just a one-term thing, and then this is 2 terms, so you need to put it in parentheses, equals, and then you'll do the cross multiplying this way. Same thing, we'll do 8 by itself because it's one term, times, now because this has 2 parts to it, we need to put it in parentheses, so 30 plus x. And now our goal is really to figure out what the x value needs to be in this problem. So we'll do some steps to get x by itself. The first thing we need to do is use the distributive property. So we'll take the 3 and multiply it by each term. 3 times 120 is going to give me 360, and you can use a calculator if you need to. And then a positive 3 times a positive x gives me a positive 3x is equal to, and then we'll do the same thing here. 8 times 30, well 8 times 3 is 24, and then there's a 0 to add on, so 8 times 30 is 240. 8 times x, so positive times positive is positive. 8 times x is 8x. Now we just need to solve this to get x by itself. It's a 2-step equation. First off, we see x is on this side and x is on this side. We want to move them all so they're on one side. I see the left-hand side only has 3. The right-hand side has a positive 8. So since this number is bigger, I'd rather have my x's on this side. So how then do I get rid of 3x's positive? Well, you do the opposite, which would be subtract 3x. And if you do it on one side, you have to do it on the other side. So I'm left with 360, and then these x's add to 0, so you don't need to write them, equals 240 plus, well, it's not a plus yet. Let's figure out how to decide if it's a plus or a minus. If I have a positive 8 and I'm subtracting 3, I'm left with a positive 5x. So it's positive because 8 minus 3 is a positive 5. Now, just like I did before, I want to get x by itself. So how do I get rid of this 240? Well, it's a positive 240, so I need to do the opposite of a plus to get rid of it, which would be to subtract 240 from both sides. 360 minus 240 is 120, equals, and then 240 minus 240 is 0, so equals 5x. Now I want to get x by itself, so in order to do that, I see it's 5 times x, so 5 times x. The way to undo x and multiplying by 5 is to divide by 5, because those will cancel each other out. And you have to do it to both sides. So 120 divided by 5 gives you 24. And on the other side, we divided it away. So we had 5x divided by 5x, so 5 divided by 5 canceled out, so we're just left with x. So 24 is equal to the x value. So if we look at our answers, we can see B is 24, so that's the answer we'll choose. We always recommend that you check your answers with this, and luckily once you know that x is 24, it's pretty easy to check your answer. All you would need to do then is go back up to this original problem when we were saying she originally had 30 purples out of 120 total spins. You just need to add 24 more purples because they want to know how many more purples she gets, and add 24 to the total number of spins. So 30 plus 24 over 120 plus 24. All we want to know is if it equals this side of the equal sign, which would be 3/8. So we're going to write down 3/8 on this side. Well, 30 plus 24 is 54. 120 plus 24 is 144. Well, does that equal 3/8? Well, we want to know if those are the same value. So if on the calculator you do that 54 divided by 144, you get 0.375 equals, and then on the other side you get 3 divided by 8, which is 0.375. Since those numbers equal the same thing, we know we have the correct value.